What is up, guys? Welcome to Supercars of London, and that is a 2018 Aston Martin Vantage, running a 4-litre bi-turbo engine that most of you will know runs in a lot of Mercedes AMG products. But Aston Martin tell me that it is quite different to the Mercedes AMG engine. So today we are starting in an underground car park because I want you guys to hear how this car sounds before I do a proper exhaust expert review on the Aston Martin Vantage.
To the Batmobile!
Now let's get on to the proper test, finding some B-roads and giving the brand new Aston Martin Vantage an absolute bashing. I'm now within the first 24 hours of being behind the wheel of the 2018 Aston Martin Vantage, a car that I was so excited for and anticipated so highly. I saw it get unveiled, I went down to London to see it, and I've seen it at the Aston Martin factory on the production line. And it has taken me a little longer than planned and expected for me to get behind the wheel of this car, but there is one factor that I really want to talk about, and I feel like I am the perfectly suited man for the job. Not only am I going to be doing an exhaust expert, but I'm going to be comparing it a little bit to the AMG GTS that I am so fondly in love with, because I put around 9,000 miles on my car. I put an aftermarket exhaust system, so I feel like I know this engine, or supposedly this engine that is in the Aston Martin Vantage, quite well. And I feel like an exhaust expert, we can cover a lot of the sound characteristics that are coming out of the rear of the car, but also coming out of the front of the car. So we're going to start with the 4-litre bi-turbo that Aston Martin have collaborated with Mercedes AMG to provide the latest power unit for the Aston Martin Vantage. I feel like a proper car reviewer there. But Aston Martin take the engine, completely disassemble it, and then reassemble it with all of their fancy Aston Martin R&D products. Meaning, whilst it starts off at the same block and kind of gets put in the car as the same block, there are a hell of a lot of components that are different in the Aston Martin Vantage engine as opposed to the Mercedes AMG GTS. And what that means is you get quite quintessentially British and Aston Martin exhaust tones. Now there's one thing that I've picked up driving around this car in sport mode, which is the comfiest setting. What I love so much about the sports car that comes out of Aston Martin now, it only starts in sport. There's no comfort mode, there's no normal mode, it is sport. Meaning you've got sport, sport plus and track. But when you're just cruising around, there's an interior, very iconic Aston Martin engine rumble that I don't think comes out the back of the car. I think it is inside the car. I don't know how Aston Martin have done it. It feels like it's coming from the front. If it is engine rumble, then it is absolutely amazing. But look. It's such an iconic Aston Martin rumble that sounds so good when you're cruising around in sport mode. I don't care if it's artificial. In the same way that the Hurricane pops and bangs, which is engineered in by Lamborghini and Audi or Audi, Aston Martin have engineered an Aston Martin tone to the car when you're just cruising along. So none of this sound dampening. You have got the Aston Martin sound through and through. Whilst it might not necessarily come from the exhaust, when you put it into Sport Plus and in track mode, what does happen is a lot of noise does come from the exhaust, and it sounds mental. So now the volume increases. The pops and the bangs are not from a Mercedes. Aston Martin have changed the way that this exhaust system sounds for the better. I think it sounds unbelievable. On the downshifts, you get 1, 2, potentially 3 cracks that don't feel like they're coming from a 4-litre bi-turbo. But then on the upshift as well, there's like a DSG fart type noise that comes through, but because it's coming from a V8, it sounds so much better. And there are so many different things that I'm learning about this car. I've done maybe 50, 60 miles on it. Oh, they're deeper, they're rumblier. Oh! Oh, that was so last minute. I didn't see that underpass until I came round the corner, so I'm not sure whether that caught the actual pop that was underneath the undercarriage. But one thing that I promised myself that I wouldn't talk about in this video is the performance that you get when you put your foot down. So obviously I'm squirting the throttle, trying to get the most out of the exhaust system, but then what happens is the car is building up so much speed powered by this engine that I am starting to learn and understand and experience the dynamics of the Aston Martin Vantage, and my god, is this thing a wicked little super sports car. It just feels so nimble, and it also feels so refreshing. It feels unique, it feels like an Aston Martin, but it feels 10 times better, far superior to what we had in the old Aston Martin Vantage. Bangs on the upshift, and then when you let off, this is a really impressive exhaust system to come as standard from factory on a car that is arguably the perfect package. When it comes to driving excitement. I just made a little jump, and I don't know whether that just provoked an extra pop, but that came out of nowhere. Definitely a 4-flame exhaust review is needed for this car, because what Aston Martin have been able to do, whilst it has got a 4-litre bi-turbo Mercedes AMG up front, Aston Martin have turned the characteristics around so that you feel like you're in an Aston Martin. Even from cruising, you've got this Aston Martin interior rumble, which I love, and then out the back when you have it in track or Sport Plus, you feel like you are driving something totally different to the Mercedes AMG, just based on audible tones alone. It's like giving an SV, Aventador SV type roaring thunder. Oh, there's so many characteristics from this exhaust system that I love so much. Over the next 5 to 7 days, I'm going to be putting this car in front of familiar faces that haven't had the opportunity of checking out the Aston Martin Vantage. And I'm also going to be creating quite a lot of content. Why not? Aston Martin give me this car for quite a long time, which I'm entirely grateful for. But that is the first video, an exhaust expert on the Aston Martin Vantage, something that I don't think people have touched upon before, but but one, when I got my hands on it, I knew that I was going to do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. And thank you to the British weather for staying dry during this video. I will see you guys very soon for the next video. Take care and subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know in the comment box on whether you think the Aston Martin Vantage should sit on my driveway. It's a question that I'm going to ask in the next couple of days. I will see you then. Take care. Goodbye.